First and foremost, the president is focused on doing his job, and to us, that's paramount. And what I think you've seen is that just because the president is in a different location doesn't mean he's not doing his job. And I don't think anyone in this room who's been covering this or following the president for the past few weeks could deny that the president's been deeply engaged on issues both domestic and abroad. It's important for us to understand, and I think that's been evident, is that the issues the country is facing, both on the international stage and back here at home, have absolutely captured the president's attention while we've been here.
Lo, they torture us all too often with hints and whispers of actually doing something important and serving the needs of those menial voters. We hear the babble, then turn to the man who can make sense of it all without all the fluff. Let us welcome back to MidPoint from Inside the Beltway, Newsmax chief political columnist and White House correspondent, John Gizzi. John, we are rescuing you once again from the Beltway. We're pulling you out of the Beltway, bringing you back to some normal life for a few moments. How's that feel?
Sounds like a great deal to me, and I am the beneficiary, Ed. Thanks for having me.
All right, always a pleasure. All right, let's get started out here with what has happened here to James Foley, the beheading of James Foley. Absolutely just a brutal, brutal instance. They keep talking about Jihad John, the Brit, and one side tells us that he may be the executioner. The Brits seem to have some pretty good ideas that this is going to be the guy. Now we're hearing from other people in France 24 TV, that maybe this is just one of 500 British nationals known to have joined ISIS. This is not going to be easy, and I would imagine that, especially in Washington, that even they know finding who these people are, getting to them, is going to be possibly much more difficult than anything we've ever done in the past, ferreting out terrorists.
Exactly, Ed. And remember, this is a story that's evolving by the hour. Sunday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, all indications were that British intelligence knew precisely who Jihad John was, and they had the executioner in their sights, and there was talk about an identification and a possible hunt within a matter of days. Last night, my colleague, Bénédictine Paviot of France 24, reported, as you say, that Jihad John, or rather the executioner, could be any one of 500 British nationals. Now, these are British citizens who are in the employ of ISIS at this point. That's a lot of suspects out there, and it's pretty difficult to nail any of them down. So I don't think there will be any rush to judgment on the part of British intelligence on this executioner. And all we have to do is say, stay tuned on this one.
Here's an interesting soundbite. This is a British Islamic State fighter. It is purportedly a video of a gentleman named Abi Muthana al-Yemeni calling others to come answer the call of jihad. I want you to hear this, ask a question on the other side. Here it is.
O you who believe, answer the call of Allah and His Messenger when He calls you to what gives you life. Imam al-Qurtubi says that what gives you life is jihad. I know by Allah that this is the land of jihad and the land of hayat, the land of living. We have brothers from Bangladesh, from Iraq, from Cambodia, Australia, UK. Nothing has gathered us except to make Allah Azza wa Jalla with the highest.
Now, John, anyone can make a video, anyone can tweet a picture, anyone can say anything that they want. There are conflicting reports. We hear from some military officials in Washington, D.C., that ISIS is not as big a threat as some would make it. We hear from some politicians, however, that they just could be in America already. They could be crossing the southern border. Where do we find some fact in all this? Because it seems like everybody is reaching to get ahead of this story without a whole lot of fact behind them.
Well, this is why I'm very careful about any announcements that come out about the executioner of Mr. Foley, and when we might be able to identify who that individual is, because this just evolves. The president initially said that ISIS was junior varsity in terms of terror. And then his own Secretary of Defense, Chuck Hagel, identified them as a greater threat than al-Qaeda. I know this. John Hanna, who was the National Security Advisor to Vice President Cheney, points out two basic facts. ISIS is seizing oil refineries, and they have $400 million in their kitty that they got when they grabbed the Iraqi Central Bank. With that, it's pretty easy to go to the next step, namely a petrostate of terrorism. One other thing I'd like to point out, when you say it's easy, Ed, to make a video and go online, it wasn't too long ago that we were all occupied about the whereabouts of Al-Qaeda Adam. That's Adam Gaddan, the young man from Southern California who became radicalized in a mosque and wound up as the spokesman for Osama bin Laden. One used to see him on Super Bowl dates and other things making pronouncements. He faces the death penalty because last time I checked, he's still an American citizen, and yet no one talks about his whereabouts anymore. There's a lot of bad people out there, and sadly, they're from countries that are on the right side, like the U.S. and Britain.
I agree. All right, about a minute 30 left here. The administration is going to start sending all the military surplus to local police, of course, in light of what has happened in Ferguson, Missouri. How much leg do you think this really has here, the administration going after that? Do you think it'll make a change?
Well, it's not just the administration, Ed. Now, the president has ordered a review of what the Pentagon calls its excess property program. Since 1997, used hardware from the military has been sent to local police departments to the tune of $4.3 billion. In just the last year, for example, there have been more than 15,000 transfers of hardware, including armor, to local police departments. But in addition, Senator Claire McCaskill, Democrat of Missouri, has said she plans to hold hearings on the militarization of police. And again, this is going to be a chasm within American politics. Those who take the traditional law and order stance and those who feel that a heavily armed local police force is a threat to individual liberty. Those hearings will be interesting, just as much as what the administration will do with its review.
And let us say something and agree on it right now, though they can start the hearings right now. Nothing is going to happen for quite some time because they still can't decide on anything. Right, John?
You're not getting an argument from me.
I
so,
didn't think so. You got to deal with it every single day, so I know I won't get any argument from you on that.
And I'll be reporting on it for you, Ed.
And also on Newsmax.com every single day. Always a pleasure, John. Thanks so much. We'll talk with you soon.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Ed.
All right, take care, my friend. After the break, we will have the definitive list of honest politicians now working inside the Beltway. After we use the necessary 12 seconds to detail that list, we'll hear from Steve Molsberg and bring you today's edition of On Point right here.